The Oklahoma sun burned like a brand against 7-year-old Lily Carter's neck as she gripped the wooden bucket with both hands, her small fingers white from the effort. The path to the well stretched before her like it did every morning, dusty and endless, winding through scrub grass that whispered secrets she was too young to understand. 3 weeks. That's how long she'd been making this journey alone, ever since Papa left for town to get medicine for Mama. 3 weeks of telling herself he'd be back any day now, even though the whispers from Mrs. Hutchins at the neighboring homestead made her stomach hurt with a feeling she couldn't name. The well sat at the edge of their small property, a stone circle that Papa had always said was the most valuable thing they owned. Water meant life out here in the Oklahoma Territory, he'd told her more than once. Without it, everything died. Lily didn't like thinking about dying, but lately that's all she could think about. Mama was getting worse, not better. Her skin felt like fire when Lily touched her forehead, and sometimes Mama said things that didn't make sense, calling out for people who weren't there. Lily reached the well and set down her bucket, standing on her tiptoes to peer over the edge into the darkness below. The rope felt rough against her palms as she lowered the bucket, listening for the splash that meant it had found water. She counted to 10 like Papa taught her, giving the bucket time to fill, then began the hard work of pulling it back up. Her arms shook with the effort. The bucket was so heavy when it was full, and she was so small. Twice the rope slipped through her fingers, and she had to start over, tears of frustration burning her eyes. She couldn't cry. Crying was for babies, and Mama needed her to be brave. She was struggling with the rope, her feet braced against the stone base of the well, when a shadow fell across her. Lily's heart jumped in her throat. She spun around so fast she nearly lost her grip on the rope entirely. A man stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, with a worn cowboy hat shading his face. He wore dusty clothes and had a revolver on his hip, and for a moment Lily couldn't breathe. Mama had warned her about strangers. Bad men roamed the territory, looking for easy targets. Homesteads with no men to protect them. "Easy now, little one," the man said, and his voice was surprisingly gentle. He held up both hands like he was trying to calm a spooked horse. "Didn't mean to scare you. I'm just passing through." He took a step closer, and Lily took a step back, still clutching the rope. "Are you alone out here?" Lily wanted to lie, wanted to say her papa was right over the hill and would be back any second, but something in the man's eyes stopped her. They weren't cruel eyes. They were sad eyes, the kind that had seen too much hurt. Still, she didn't answer, just stared at him with her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. The man tilted his head, studying her more carefully now. "How old are you, sweetheart?" "7? 8. When she still didn't respond, he crouched down to her level, making himself smaller, less threatening. "My name's Colt. Colt Dawson. I've been camped about a mile east of here for 3 days now, and I've seen you come to this well every morning. Same time, same struggle with that bucket. That's a lot of responsibility for someone so small." "I'm 7," Lily finally whispered, because staying silent felt ruder than Mama would like. "And I'm not small. I'm big enough to help." "I can see that," Colt said seriously, like she'd said something important. "You're doing a mighty fine job. But I gotta ask, where are your folks? It's not safe for a child to be out here alone, especially not this far from any house I can see." Lily's throat got tight. She looked back toward the cabin, barely visible through the trees. She shouldn't tell this stranger anything. But he'd been watching for 3 days, he said. He already knew she was alone, and Mama was getting worse every day. Yesterday, she hadn't even recognized Lily, had called her by some other name. "Mama's sick," she said quietly. "Real sick. Papa went to town for medicine." Colt's expression shifted, became more alert. "When did your papa leave?" "A while ago." Lily looked down at her worn shoes, at the dust covering her faded dress. "He said he'd be back quick." "How long is a while, sweetheart?" Lily counted in her head, the way Mama had taught her. 3 weeks. Maybe a bit more. I stopped marking the days on my slate after Mama got too sick to check my numbers. She heard Colt suck in a breath, sharp and worried. When she looked up, his jaw was tight and his eyes had gone hard, though not at her. 3 weeks, he repeated. And your mama's been sick this whole time? Lily nodded. She was a little sick when Papa left. That's why he went for medicine. But then she got worse. Now she mostly sleeps, and when she's awake, she doesn't make sense. I try to give her water in the soup I make, but she won't eat much. The words came faster now, spilling out like water from a cracked bucket. I don't know what to do. I keep thinking Papa will come back and fix everything, but he's not coming and I don't know why and I'm scared. The last word came out as barely a whisper, and suddenly Colt was moving. He stood up and reached for the rope she was still holding. Let me get that bucket up for you. Then you're going to take me to your mama. Right now. But I don't know you, Lily protested weakly, even as he easily hauled the heavy bucket up from the well like it weighed nothing at all. That's true, Colt agreed, setting the full bucket on the stone edge. But I know enough to know that you and your mama need help, and I'm not the kind of man who walks away from that. He picked up the bucket in one hand like it was no heavier than a cup of coffee. Come on, little one, show me where home is. Lily hesitated for just a moment longer, weighing Mama's warnings against the desperate truth that they needed help. Then she turned and started walking back down the dusty path, hearing Colt's boots crunching in the dirt behind her. The cabin came into view, and Lily felt shame heat her cheeks. It looked so shabby now, with the door hanging crooked and weeds growing up around the porch. Papa always kept things nice, but Lily couldn't do everything he did. Mama's inside, she said as they reached the porch. She's sleeping most of the time now. Colt set the bucket down and pushed open the door. Lily watched his face as he stepped inside, saw his expression go from concern to horrified. The cabin was a mess. Dirty dishes piled in the wash basin because Lily couldn't reach the pump easily. Clothes that needed washing. And in the corner, on the bed, Mama lay so still and pale, she looked like a ghost. Colt crossed to the bed in 3 long strides and put his hand on Mama's forehead. Jesus, he muttered, she's burning up. He looked around the cabin more carefully now, taking in the empty cupboards, the cold stove, the general air of neglect and desperation. When he turned back to Lily, his expression was gentle but serious. Sweetheart, I need you to tell me about your papa. What did he look like? What was his name? Thomas Carter, Lily said. He's tall, with brown hair and a beard. He wears a gray hat with a hole in the brim. What? Colt was quiet for a long moment, and something in that silence made Lily's stomach drop like a stone down the well. Little one, he finally said, his voice careful and sad. I need to tell you something about your papa. Colt knelt down, so he was eye level with Lily, and she knew before he even spoke that whatever he was about to say would change everything. His hands rested gently on her shoulders, steady and warm, and his eyes held hers with a kindness that made her want to cry, even though she didn't know why yet. 3 weeks ago, Colt began quietly. There was trouble in town. At the saloon, a fight broke out over a card game, and a man got killed. He paused, his jaw working like the words were hard to say. The man who died matched the description you just gave me. Brown hair, beard, gray hat with a hole in the brim. They buried him in the town's cemetery, but nobody knew his name. Nobody knew he had a family waiting for him. Lily stared at him, her mind trying to make sense of the words, but not wanting to understand them. That wasn't Papa, she said, her voice small and desperate. Papa's coming back. He promised. I know he did, sweetheart. I'm sure he meant to keep that promise. Colt's voice was so gentle it hurt. But sometimes things happen that are beyond our control. Bad things that aren't fair and don't make sense. No. Lily shook her head hard, her braids whipping around her face. You're wrong. You didn't know him. That was somebody else. Colt didn't argue with her, didn't try to convince her with more words. He just stayed there, kneeling in the dusty cabin, holding her shoulders while she processed what he'd told her. And slowly, like water seeping through cracks in a dam, the truth began to break through. Papa had been gone 3 weeks. 3 weeks was too long. Papa wouldn't have stayed away while Mama got sicker and sicker. Papa wouldn't have left her alone unless he couldn't come back. Unless he was never coming back. The sob came from somewhere deep inside her, a sound she'd been holding back for 3 long weeks of being brave and strong and alone. Colt pulled her into his arms without a word, and Lily cried against his dusty shirt. Cried for her papa who was gone, for her mama who was dying, for herself who was just 7 years old and didn't know how to fix any of it. "I've got you," Colt murmured, one big hand cradling the back of her head. "I've got you, little one. You're not alone anymore. I promise you that." When the tears finally slowed, Lily pulled back and wiped her face with her sleeve. Mama was still lying in the bed, unaware that her world had just shattered. "Mama doesn't know," Lily whispered. "She keeps asking for him. What do I tell her?" "We'll tell her together," Colt said. "But first we need to get her well. She's very sick, Lily. Sicker than you probably realize. She needs a doctor, and she needs medicine, and she needs it right now." He stood up and looked around the cabin again, his expression grim. "When's the last time either of you ate a real meal?" Lily tried to remember. "There's some cornmeal left. I made mush yesterday, and there's a little bacon, but I was saving it for when Mama felt better." Colt's jaw tightened. He walked to the cupboard and opened it, confirming what Lily had said. Nearly empty. He checked the root cellar next, finding it just as bare. When he came back up, his face was set with determination. "All right, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ride to town right now. I'm going to bring back the doctor and supplies. Food, medicine, everything you need. But I need you to be brave a little bit longer. Can you do that for me?" "How long will you be gone?" Lily asked, trying to keep the fear out of her voice. Everyone who left didn't come back. Colt must have heard it anyway, because he knelt down again and looked her straight in the eye. "I will be back before dark. That's a promise, and I don't break my promises. I'm going to leave you my canteen with fresh water, and I want you to try to get your mama to drink some while I'm gone. Can you do that?" Lily nodded, even though the thought of being alone again made her chest tight. Colt pulled the canteen from his belt and set it on the table, then added his own provisions, a cloth-wrapped bundle that contained jerky and hardtack. "You eat some of that. I mean it. You can't help your mama if you fall down from hunger yourself." He moved to the door, then turned back one more time. "Lily, I need you to know something. I'm coming back. No matter what happens in town, no matter what anyone says, I'm coming back for you and your mama. You believe me?" "Why?" The question burst out before Lily could stop it. "Why do you care? You don't even know us." Something painful flickered across Colt's face. There and gone so quick Lily almost missed it. "I had a little girl once," he said quietly. "She'd be about your age now if she'd lived. Her and her mama both died 5 years ago, and I've been drifting ever since, trying to outrun the grief." He cleared his throat. "When I saw you struggling with that bucket, saw you doing everything you could to take care of your mama all by yourself, it reminded me that there's still good in this world worth protecting. So that's why I care. Because you deserve someone to care." Then he was gone, his boots thudding across the porch and down the steps. Lily ran to the window and watched him mount a gray horse she hadn't noticed before, watched him ride away at a gallop toward town. And for the first time in 3 weeks, she felt something that wasn't fear or loneliness. She felt hope. The hours crawled by. Lily did what Colt had told her, forcing herself to eat some of the jerky even though her stomach was knotted with worry. She tried to get Mama to drink water, but Mama just turned her head away and mumbled something about checking on the chickens. Chickens they didn't have anymore, because Lily had to trade them to Mrs. Hutchins for flour 2 weeks ago. The sun was starting to sink toward the horizon when Lily heard horses approaching. She rushed to the door, her heart in her throat. What if it wasn't Colt? What if it was someone else, someone dangerous? But then she saw him, riding fast with another man beside him, a thin older man with a black bag that could only mean one thing. The doctor. Colt dismounted before his horse had fully stopped and strode to the cabin. "Doc Mason's here," he said. "He's going to help your mama now." The doctor brushed past them and went straight to the bed. He put his hand on Mama's forehead, lifted her eyelids to check her eyes, listened to her breathing with a strange metal instrument. His face grew more serious with each examination. Finally, he turned to Colt, ignoring Lily like she wasn't even there. It's typhoid fever. Advanced stage. She should have seen a doctor weeks ago. Can you help her? Colt asked, his voice tight. I can try, but I'll be honest with you, it doesn't look good. She's badly dehydrated and malnourished, and the fever's had too long to take hold. The doctor started pulling bottles from his bag. I'll need clean water, lots of it, and we need to get her fever down. It's going to be a long night, maybe several long nights. Someone needs to stay with her constantly. I'll stay, Colt said immediately. Whatever she needs, whatever it costs, I'll cover it. The doctor looked at him curiously. You're the husband? No, just someone who wants to help. If the doctor thought that was strange, he didn't say so. He just nodded and started giving orders. Colt moved to follow them, but Lily grabbed his hand. You came back, she whispered. Told you I would, Colt said, squeezing her hand gently. Now let's save your mama. What followed was the longest 3 days of Lily's life. The doctor came twice a day, bringing more medicine and checking on Mama's progress. Colt never left except to tend to his horse or bring in more water and firewood. He set up a bedroll on the cabin floor and took turns with Lily keeping watch over Mama, cooling her fever with wet cloths, forcing water and medicine between her lips, talking to her even when she didn't respond. On the second night, when Mama's fever spiked, so high the doctor said they might lose her, Colt sat beside the bed and did something Lily didn't expect. He prayed. His voice was rough and unpracticed, like he hadn't talked to God in a long time, but the words came anyway. I couldn't save my wife and daughter, he said quietly. I've carried that failure for 5 years. But please, if you're listening, don't let me fail this little girl too. Let her mama live. She's already lost her papa. Don't make her lose everything. Lily, pretending to sleep on the floor, felt tears slide down her cheeks. In 3 days, this stranger had become her whole world, the only thing standing between her and complete despair. He told her stories to keep her spirits up, stories about his ranch back in Texas, about the horses he'd trained and the places he'd seen. He taught her how to make proper coffee and how to tell if meat was still good to eat. He showed her card tricks and made her laugh even when she thought she'd never laugh again. And slowly, impossibly, Mama started to improve. The fever began to break on the morning of the 4th day. The doctor examined her and said the words they'd been praying for. She's going to make it. She's not out of danger yet, but she's turned the corner. Colt's shoulders sagged with relief, so profound he had to sit down. Lily threw her arms around his neck, and he held her tight, his eyes suspiciously bright. Thank you, Lily whispered. Thank you for saving her, for saving us. You don't need to thank me, little one, Colt said, his voice rough. I'm just glad I was here. Later that afternoon, Mama's eyes finally opened and stayed open, clear and focused for the first time in weeks. She looked around the cabin in confusion, her gaze landing on Lily first, then moving to the strange man sitting in her husband's chair. Lily, her voice was barely a whisper. What happened? Who is that man? Lily moved to the bedside, taking Mama's hand. It felt so thin and fragile, like bird bones. That's Mr. Colt, Mama. He saved us. He brought the doctor and medicine and stayed to help, and she looked at Colt helplessly, not knowing how to explain everything. Colt stood and approached slowly, keeping his distance so as not to frighten her. Ma'am, my name is Colt Dawson. You've been very ill. Typhoid fever. You've been unconscious for nearly 4 days. Sarah tried to sit up, but didn't have the strength. Thomas, she said urgently, where's my husband? Did he bring you? Is he? The hope in her eyes was breaking Lily's heart. She looked to Colt, pleading silently for him to be the one to say it. Colt moved closer and sat carefully on the edge of the bed. Mrs. Carter, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your husband passed away 3 weeks ago. There was a fight in town. He didn't suffer, and they buried him proper in the town cemetery. The color drained from Sarah's face. No, she whispered. No, he was coming back. He promised Lily he'd be back with medicine. I know, ma'am. I'm sure he meant to keep that promise. But fate had other plans. Colt's voice was infinitely gentle. I'm sorry for your loss. Truly sorry. Sarah closed her eyes, tears sliding down her temples into her hair. Lily climbed onto the bed and curled against her mama's side, careful not to hurt her. They held each other and cried, mourning the man who'd left and never returned, while Colt quietly stepped outside to give them privacy in their grief. When the tears were spent and the shadows grew long, Sarah finally asked the question that Lily knew had been building. Why? She said when Colt came back inside. Why would a stranger do all this for people he doesn't know? The doctor, the medicine, staying here, it makes no sense. Colt was quiet for a long moment, standing in the doorway with the setting sun behind him. I lost my family 5 years ago, he finally said. My wife and baby daughter. They died and I couldn't save them. I've been running from that grief ever since, drifting from place to place with no real purpose. He looked at Lily, and his expression softened. Then I saw your daughter struggling with a bucket too heavy for her to carry, trying to save her mama all by herself. And I realized that maybe I couldn't save my family, but I could save yours. Maybe that's purpose enough. Sarah stared at him, tears starting fresh in her eyes. I can't pay you back. We have nothing. I'm not asking for payment, ma'am. I'm just asking that you both get well and strong again. That's payment enough for me. He cleared his throat. Now, the doctor says you need rest and plenty of food and water. I brought supplies enough for a few weeks. I'll help out around here until you're back on your feet, if that's acceptable to you. I can sleep in the barn, do the heavy work, keep you both safe. After that, I'll move on. Move on where? Lily asked, sudden panic in her voice. She'd already lost Papa. She couldn't lose Colt too. Colt's smile was sad. Wherever the road takes me, I suppose. I'm a drifter, little one. It's what I do. But Lily saw something in his eyes that contradicted his words. He didn't want to leave any more than she wanted him to go. And as she looked between Colt and her mama, she made a wish on the first star appearing in the darkening sky. She wished that somehow, some way, this man who'd saved them could stay and be part of their family forever. Because in just 4 days, he'd become the papa she'd lost, and she wasn't ready to say goodbye. Sarah's hands trembled as Lily finished explaining. Her husband, dead 3 weeks while she burned with fever, unaware. This stranger, this cowboy, had saved them both. Why? Sarah whispered, staring at Colt through weak, tear-filled eyes. Why would you do all this for people you don't know? Colt's jaw tightened. He looked at Lily, then back at Sarah. Because I couldn't save my own family. Maybe I could save yours. The words hung heavy. Sarah saw the grief etched in every line of his weathered face and understood. This man knew loss as intimately as she did now. Thank you, she managed. I'll repay you. Somehow. Every cent. Ma'am, I don't want your money. Over the following weeks, Colt proved it. He came daily, fixing the sagging porch, chopping wood, bringing fresh game and supplies. He was always respectful, always proper, never staying past sunset. Sarah grew stronger. Lily bloomed like a wildflower after rain, following Colt everywhere, chattering endlessly. The child who'd been silent with grief now laughed again. Sarah watched them together, Colt teaching Lily to whittle, to track animals, to be brave. Her heart did complicated things she wasn't ready to name. Then Mrs. Hutchins arrived with her poisonous concern. Sarah, dear, the neighbor's smile was sugar over vinegar. People are talking. An unmarried man, spending so much time here with you and the child. It's unseemly. Sarah's blood chilled. Mr. Dawson saved our lives. He's been nothing but respectful. I'm sure, dear, but appearances matter. The church ladies are concerned about Lily's moral upbringing. Some are saying the marshal should check on the situation. Mrs. Hutchins leaned closer. You know what they do with children in questionable homes. Terror struck Sarah's heart. They could take Lily. On moral grounds, propriety concerns. People had lost children for less. After Mrs. Hutchins left, Sarah stood frozen. Everything Colt had done, All his kindness, his help, was now a threat to her daughter's safety because narrow-minded gossips couldn't see past scandal. That evening, Colt noticed her distress immediately. "What happened?" Sarah explained, voice breaking. "I'm grateful for everything, truly. But maybe you should stop coming. For Lily's sake." "No." Colt's voice was firm. "I'm not abandoning you to face this alone. But the gossip is about to get a whole lot worse." He took a deep breath, removing his hat. "Sarah, I've been thinking about this problem. There's one way to protect you and Lily from all the talk." She looked at him, confused. "Marry me." Sarah's world tilted. "What?" "In name only," Colt added quickly. "Just on paper. I'll lease the abandoned ranch next door. Stay separate, but close enough to help. The marriage would make it legal, respectable. Give me the right to protect Lily without anyone questioning it." You'd tie yourself to us like that? For appearances? For you? For her? For what's right?" His eyes were steady, honest. "I'm not asking for anything you're not ready to give, Sarah. Just a way to keep you both safe." Lily appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. "Mama, please. Mr. Colt is good. He won't leave us like—" She stopped, but they all knew what she meant. Sarah looked at her daughter's pleading face, then at Colt's patient, honorable expression. Pride warred with practicality. She owed him everything already. Could she accept this too? But what choice did she have? Lose her daughter to busybodies and their cruel judgment? Let Colt walk away when Lily had finally found safety again? "All right," Sarah whispered. "But you swear this is just an arrangement. For protection." "I swear, ma'am." Neither of them noticed Lily's small, knowing smile. The ceremony was brief, businesslike. Justice of Peace Henderson read the vows in his dusty office while Lily stood witness, clutching wildflowers she'd picked that morning. "I do," Colt said firmly. "I do," Sarah echoed, voice barely audible. Henderson pronounced them married. No kiss, no celebration, just papers signed and a new name, Sarah Dawson. Colt moved into the neighboring ranch as promised. Close enough to help, far enough to maintain propriety. The gossip didn't stop entirely, but lost its venom. They were respectable now, even if everyone whispered about the strange arrangement. Days fell into comfortable rhythm. Colt worked both properties, joining them for supper most evenings. He'd sit on the porch afterward, teaching Lily constellations while Sarah cleaned dishes and pretended not to watch them through the window. Her husband, strange to think the word, was gentle with Lily in ways Thomas never had been. Patient, present. He listened when she talked, remembered small details, made her feel important. And when he looked at Sarah, something flickered in those storm-gray eyes that made her heart stumble. She told herself it was gratitude she felt, nothing more. This was an arrangement. He'd been clear about that. But then there were moments, his hand steadying her elbow when she stumbled, lingering a heartbeat too long. His eyes following her across the room. The way he said her name, soft like a prayer. One evening, Lily was showing Colt her drawings when she suddenly announced, "I'm going to call you Papa Colt." The silence was deafening. Colt's face went pale, then red. His eyes filled with tears, he blinked back quickly. "You don't have to, but I want—" Lily's small hand found his. "You're my papa now, the one who stayed." Sarah watched her daughter destroy this strong man's composure with simple truth, and her own eyes burned. When Colt looked at her, asking silent permission, she could only nod. "All right, baby girl," he whispered roughly. "Papa Colt it is." That night, Sarah lay awake, her heart a riot of feelings she'd sworn not to have. 2 months passed. The arrangement worked perfectly on paper. In reality, Sarah was falling for her own husband while pretending she wasn't. Every smile he gave Lily, every kind gesture, every moment of quiet strength pulled her deeper. She thought he felt nothing, that she was just a duty, a promise kept. Then one afternoon, a rider approached. Tall, hard-faced, with mean eyes that swept over their property with calculating assessment. "Well, well," the stranger drawled. "If it ain't my dear sister-in-law, Sarah." Sarah's blood turned to ice. "Vernon, Vernon Carter, Thomas's younger brother. The one Thomas had fled years ago after Vernon's business dealings turned violent. The one whose letters demanding money Thomas had burned unopened. Heard about my brother's unfortunate passing. Vernon's smile was all teeth. Came to pay my respects and collect what's mine. There's nothing here for you, Sarah said coldly. No. Vernon's gaze slid to Lily, who'd gone very still. I'm her blood uncle, her legal guardian now that Thomas is gone. Got papers to prove it. She has a father, Colt said quietly, stepping forward. Me. Vernon laughed. The convenient husband? Please. Everyone knows you two don't even live together. This ain't a real marriage. It's a joke. And when I tell the judge that, I'll have my niece and this property sold before spring. Lily made a small, frightened sound and ran to hide behind Colt. Vernon's eyes glittered with greed and malice. We'll be leaving for St. Louis next week, Lily girl. My wife's eager to meet you. We'll make a proper lady out of you yet. Over my dead body, Sarah breathed. That can be arranged, Vernon said pleasantly. But the law's on my side. Blood rights trump paper marriages every time. He tipped his hat mockingly and rode off, leaving devastation in his wake. Lily was crying. Sarah was shaking. And Colt's face had gone hard as granite. He can't take her, Sarah whispered. He can't. He won't, Colt said. I promise you, Sarah. He won't. But for the first time, his voice held doubt. Vernon returned the next morning with a lawyer. Papers, he claimed, prove his guardianship rights. Blood relation trumped everything, especially a marriage clearly fraudulent. You don't even share a bed, the lawyer said smugly. Separate homes. This marriage is a sham to avoid scandal, nothing more. Colt's fist clenched. Sarah felt the ground crumbling beneath her feet. After they left with threats of court proceedings, the cabin felt suffocating. Lily had cried herself to sleep. Sarah stood at the window, staring at nothing. I can't lose her, she whispered. I can't. You won't. Colt's voice was rough behind her. How can you promise that? Vernon's right. Our marriage isn't real. Any judge will see through it. Then we make it real. Sarah turned. Colt stood in the doorway, hat in hands, looking more vulnerable than she'd ever seen him. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. He stepped closer. Sarah, this stopped being just an arrangement for me weeks ago. Her heart hammered. What? I wake up thinking about you. About Lily. About coming here, seeing your face. His voice dropped. You've given me everything I thought I'd lost forever. A reason to stop running from my grief. A family. A home. Love. Love. The word barely escaped. Yes. He was close now. Close enough she could see the silver in his stubble, the hope and fear warring in his eyes. I love you, Sarah. I love Lily. And if you'll have me, truly have me, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. I thought you were just being kind, that I was a burden you felt obligated to. You're no burden. You're everything. His thumb brushed her cheek. But if you don't feel the same, I understand. We can still fight Vernon as we are. Sarah kissed him. It was desperate and tender, full of weeks of longing denied. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. I love you too, she whispered. I was afraid to hope you could want someone like me. Someone with nothing to offer, but everything, he interrupted fiercely. You've offered me everything. A small sound made them turn. Lily stood at the loft ladder, crying happy tears. Does this mean Papa Colt is staying forever? Colt knelt, opening his arms. Lily flew into them. Forever, baby girl. I promise. Sarah joined the embrace, her family finally whole. That night, Colt moved into the cabin. Not for appearances, but because they were truly married now, in heart, not just paper. The next morning, Vernon returned with Marshall Tucker. Marriage fraud, Vernon announced. Coercion of a vulnerable widow. I'm here to collect my niece and press charges. The marshal looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, I need to investigate these claims. It's procedure. Investigate what? Sarah demanded. A man who saved our lives? Who married me honorably? Who married you conveniently? Vernon sneered. After hovering around a sick woman, an impressionable child. Sounds like predatory behavior to me. That's a lie, Lily shouted, running to Colt. The child's been influenced, Vernon said smoothly, clearly attached to her captor. It's sad, really. Marshall Tucker sighed. I need to speak with the child, alone, to determine her true feelings without influence. Sarah's hands shook. Everything hinged on this moment. Colt knelt before Lily, cupping her face gently. Tell the truth, sweetheart. Just the truth. Can you be brave? Lily nodded, though tears tracked down her cheeks. The marshal led her outside to his horse, far enough away that neither Sarah, Colt, nor Vernon could hear. Sarah gripped Colt's hand so tightly her knuckles went white. Vernon smirked, confident. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the marshal and Lily returned. The little girl's face was set with determination beyond her years. Marshal Tucker's expression was unreadable. Well, Vernon demanded. What did she say? The marshal looked at Lily, then at Colt and Sarah, then back at Vernon. I've made my decision. Marshal Tucker's weathered face was stern as he addressed the group. The child spoke clearly, very clearly. Vernon leaned forward eagerly. Sarah fell faint. She described her life before Mr. Dawson arrived. The marshal continued. Her real father's neglect, his drinking, how he'd disappear for days, leaving them without food or water, how he abandoned them for 3 weeks while her mother nearly died. That's not relevant, Vernon started. It's entirely relevant, Tucker cut him off, because she also described how Mr. Dawson saved their lives, paid for the doctor, bought supplies, fixed their home, how he's been nothing but kind and patient, how he teaches her things, listens to her, makes her feel safe. The marshal turned to Vernon. She said, and I quote, Papa Colt is my real papa. He chose us. He didn't have to, but he stayed. Sarah's legs nearly gave out. Colt's arm came around her waist, steadying her. The girl's been manipulated, Vernon protested. The girl, Tucker said coldly, is wise beyond her years. And I've been asking around town about you, Mr. Carter. Gambling debts in 3 states. Charges of assault in Missouri. Your wife left you last year. You're no fit guardian. Vernon's face went purple. I'm blood family. I have rights. And Mr. Dawson has a legal marriage, a stable home, and the love of that child. Judge Harrison will uphold this marriage. I'll testify to it myself. Tucker's hand rested on his gun. Now I suggest you leave. Today. You can't. I can. And if you come near this family again, threatening them, trying to extort money, or take that child, I'll arrest you for harassment. Am I clear? Vernon's eyes blazed with impotent rage. He pointed a shaking finger at Colt. This ain't over, cowboy. You watch your back. Colt stepped forward, his voice dangerously quiet. No, Vernon. It is over. You touch my family. Even look at them wrong, and the law won't matter. I'll handle you myself. And where I come from, we don't take kindly to men who threaten children. Something in Colt's eyes made Vernon step back. He was a bully and a coward, and he recognized a man who meant every word. Vernon spat in the dirt, mounted his horse, and rode off without looking back. The moment he disappeared over the ridge, Lily burst into tears and threw herself at Colt. You stayed. You didn't leave us. Colt caught her, lifting her high. Never, baby girl. Never. I'm your papa forever now. Nothing and nobody can change that. Sarah joined them, and they stood together, a real family, finally and truly. Marshal Tucker tipped his hat. You've got a good man here, Mrs. Dawson, and a brave daughter. Take care of each other. After he left, neighbors began arriving. Mrs. Henderson brought a pie. Old Mr. Chun brought vegetable from his garden. Even Mrs. Hutchins came, shamefaced, with a quilt. I was wrong, the older woman admitted quietly. I let gossip cloud my judgment. You've built something real here. Something good. The community that had whispered and judged now rallied around them, welcoming Colt as one of their own. That Sunday, They held a second wedding ceremony at the church, this time with joy, with meaning, with the whole town celebrating. Lily wore her best dress and carried flowers, beaming as she walked down the aisle ahead of her mother. Sarah wore a simple blue dress Colt said made her eyes look like summer sky. Colt wore his cleanest shirt and boots polished until they shone. When Pastor Williams asked, "Do you take this woman to be your wife?" Colt's voice rang clear and certain. "I do, with all my heart." And when Sarah said, "I do," she meant it with every fiber of her being. This time they kissed, long and tender, while Lily cheered and the congregation applauded. The celebration afterward was simple but joyful. Music, dancing, food shared among friends who become family. Colt danced with Sarah, holding her close. "Happy, Mrs. Dawson. Happier than I ever thought I'd be again," she whispered against his chest. Later, he danced with Lily, spinning her until she shrieked with laughter. Watching them, Sarah felt her heart might burst. 3 months later, autumn painted the ranch in gold and crimson. The two properties had merged into one thriving homestead. Colt had expanded the cabin, adding rooms for their growing family. Sarah stood at the well, the same well where this had all begun, one hand resting on her swollen belly. 6 months along and glowing with health and happiness. "Mama," Lily called, running across the yard with Emma, a little girl from the neighboring homestead. "Can Emma stay for supper?" "Of course, sweetheart." Sarah watched as Lily showed Emma how to draw water safely, patiently teaching her the technique. "You don't have to do it alone," Lily told the younger girl. "That's what Papa Cole taught me. We help each other." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, the good kind. Her daughter, once so frightened and alone, now confident and kind, passing on the lessons she'd learned. Colt appeared behind Sarah, arms circling her waist, hands resting on their unborn son. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything. How far we've come. How different life is now. Better. Infinitely." She leaned back against him. "I never thought I'd feel this safe. This loved. You deserve it. You both do." He kissed her temple. "Have I told you today that I love you?" "Only 3 times. You're slacking, Mr. Dawson." He turned her to face him, grinning. "Then let me remedy that." December, 1 year after the well. Snow fell softly on Christmas morning. Inside the cabin, warmth and love filled every corner. Thomas Dawson Jr., named for both fathers, honoring the past while embracing the future, slept peacefully in his cradle. Born healthy and strong in October, he completed their family. Lily sat nearby, holding her baby brother when he fussed, singing the lullabies Colt had taught her. She was a natural big sister, protective and gentle. Sarah made breakfast while Colt brought in firewood. The domestic scene, so normal, so perfect, it still sometimes took her breath away. As they gathered around the table, Lily, baby Thomas, Sarah, and Colt, Lily suddenly grew thoughtful. "Papa Colt." "Yes, sweetheart." "Do you remember the day you found me at the well? 1 year ago." Colt's eyes met Sarah's across the table, both remembering. "Every detail, baby girl. I was so scared that day. So alone. I didn't know if anyone would ever help us." Lily's voice was serious beyond her years. "But you were the answer to my prayers." Colt knelt beside her chair, taking her small hand. "No, sweetheart. You were the answer to mine. I was lost before I found you. Both of you gave me a reason to live again." Sarah joined them, one hand on Lily's shoulder, the other on Colt's. "We saved each other. That's what families do." They embraced, all of them together, baby Thomas gurgling happily in the middle. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in white. The well stood in the distance, frozen now, but no longer a place of lonely struggle. It was where their story began, where a desperate child's prayers met a grieving man's second chance, where strangers became family and broken hearts found healing. Colt looked at his wife, his children, his home, and felt gratitude so profound it was almost painful. Sometimes the greatest blessings come disguised as strangers. Sometimes the hardest moments lead to the happiest endings. And sometimes love finds you when you've stopped looking at a well in the wilderness when a little girl asks if you're alone. We're not alone anymore, Lily whispered, echoing everyone's thoughts. Never again, Colt promised. Never again.